Hello and welcome to Chapter 15, Hijacking of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth Networks. So, again, as a reminder, of course, we will ask you to take some notes and submit them as homework. All right, without any further ado, let's get started. So, we have Wi-Fi standards that includes 11802.11a, B, G, and C. There's the new one that's coming out soon, AX. And of course, we have the 802.1116, the WiMAX, which competes with the LTE networks. And we have the Bluetooth, the 802.1115. The new, by the way, the new AX, which is it's 4 times faster than AC, and it covers more distance, of course. Now, the WiMAX 802.16 covers close to 30 miles with speed up to 1 gigabits per second. This is typically, like I said earlier, a contender to LTE network, but it's not usually found in a land. So it's really more for a metropolitan area network. Bluetooth is a protocol that is used for short distance and requires very small amount of power. That's really the big advantage of having a Bluetooth device. All right, so let's review some points. The EAP, the Extensible Authentication Protocol, this uses multiple methods such as token cards, certificates, Kerberos to authenticate users. So please write that down. The EAP is really the most widely used authentication suite protocols that allows you the different types of protocols that will allow you to authenticate users. The Light EAP, which is really a Cisco proprietary protocol, this is when routers authenticate. They use mutual authentications. Routers have to authenticate each other before they pass updates to each other. All right, so the Radius server, which is the most common remote authenticating server that is in use today. Where are we here? It's used to authenticate users. If you have, many users that are trying to authenticate remotely, you probably want to use a Radius or a TACX server. The TACX Plus server is a Cisco proprietary, so that's really specifically more for Cisco, but most remote users will use the Radius servers. And along with that, you'll have the 802.1x that will send your data to the Radius server for authentication. And once you authentication, the 802.1x will allow you to either permit you access or deny you access. All right. The 802.11i, write this down. This is an IEEE standard that specifies the security mechanism for the 802.11 wireless network. So everything that you hear about the 802.11 security, WPA, WEP, all of that is under the 802.11i for security. All the security protocols that are used in the 802.11 networks go under the 802.11i standard. All right, so let's talk about the different encryption method that can be used to secure a wireless router. First, the WEP. The Wired Privacy Protocol uses the same key to authenticate and encrypt users' data. Of course, we don't want to do that. That's extremely weak. But of course, if you don't have anything else but WEP, you definitely want to turn that on as well. 64 bits is the most widely used. It's crackable. So if there's anything else available, definitely use that instead. The CRC32, the cyclical redundancy check, this is used by Ethernet in the frame check sequence. If you remember what the Ethernet frame looks like, at the end there is the FCS. This is to check the integrity of the frame. But also that's flawed. That's also weak. And by the way, we will perform Wi-Fi hacking using AirCrack NG utility. You'll see how easy to authenticate users from a Wi-Fi and steal the authenticating password. If it's weak, you have a weak password to connect to the network, you can easily get it. And it doesn't matter if it's WEP, WPA, or even WPA2. If you have a weak password set, we'll be able to figure it out and have access to your network. That has nothing to do with the data that's being encrypted. That's almost impossible, going through the router, impossible to get to. But someone can have access to your Wi-Fi by getting your password. Now, one big thing, you can easily deauthenticate users, kick people off the network. If somebody can see your SSID, and we'll see that in the lab, they can knock you out easily. So we probably have to tell the router not to broadcast our SSID number if we see that this is being happening often. All right. Don't use the WPS. I mean, see, there's older routers have the Wi-Fi protected setup where you have to press a button and you have to write in a digit. Don't bother with that. It's definitely weak. That is something that you should definitely stay away from. WPA2. Let me get to. We should talk about the WPA2. Where are we here? Yeah, we're going to do that. The air crack, we'll use that. Okay, anyway. So let's talk about the WPA2. It comes in two flavors. There is the personal or the enterprise. The enterprise uses a server for key management and authentication. Enterprise meaning for a company type. You can still, again, like I said, you can still crack the authentication password for a WPA2 if it's weak, but it's really impossible to crack the encryption keys that encrypts the data. All right, so that is something you definitely should look into. Okay, hold on a second. So let's see. All right, so to mitigate Wi-Fi attacks, so what do we need to use? Please write down the following 6 points on how to take care to build a defense against Wi-Fi attacks. All right, so write the following down. Number 1, use complex passwords. I don't have to keep telling you that. Preferably passphrases that you can only say or know or remember. All right. Number 2, use server validation. Number 3, use WPA2. Number 4, disable the SSID broadcasting. Number 5, you can implement MAC filtering. And number 6, turn on the AP only when you need to use it. I used to do that in the old days. So if you're only living in your apartment and you only access the internet maybe for an hour or two, maybe when you come home and you want to watch a Netflix movie, when you leave and you're at work and nobody else is using it, turn it off. Okay, because that's where most attacks happen. And if you're having on and if you see somebody's authenticating you, you'll be able to notice that. But if your AP is completely off, your access point is off, there's no way of anybody can break into your network when you're not around. All right, so those are the 6 points that you can use. You can use any of them. You can use all of them if you want to. But at least I recommend that you use WPA2 and have, of course, a very complex password when you are accessing the Wi-Fi's. All right, continuing on. Kismac is another good Wi-Fi cracking utility that you should definitely look into if you need to look into that. You may set up a fake, a rogue access point to lure users to connect to, then set up a man-in-the-middle utility such as Etacap and SSL strip to capture the data. We'll do this in the lab, but I want to let you know that in 2012, a new protocol called HSTS, an HTTP Secure Transport, is a way to defend against this. New protocol came up is a way to defend against the SSL stripping. So that's been out there already. All right. We'll use a utility also, MAC Changer, to spoof our MAC addresses to one to one that is authenticated and accessing a Wi-Fi. That's like the session hijacking. I don't know if we talked about that in the last chapter. But if you, let's say, sitting in the airport and you see people are connecting to a hotspot because they use their MAC address to have access, you can find out what their MAC address is, and you can use their MAC address to get into the session and use their MAC address to have access. The only problem with that is they may be knocked off if you try to connect. But if they leave, you may try to connect to their Wi-Fi network using their MAC address, and there's a very good chance you'll use it. All you have to do is use MAC Changer to spoof your MAC address. All right, so that will be a good thing to take a look into. I don't know if you want to do that. That's illegal, of course. You don't want to do that. And again, remember, never ever try to really pen test anyone or break into anyone's network unless you own that device or that the person knows what you are doing. All right. Let's get into. So, under ideal conditions, traffic analysis for a wireless network can be expected to reveal any of the following. Okay, let's get into Bluetoothing. So, Bluetooth hacking. Your device can be in pairing or non-pairing mode. Make sure that if it's in pairing mode, that the device you are pairing with is authenticated. All right. So, a couple of terminologies. Bluejacking is, please write those down. Bluejacking is a term used to attack Bluetooth device. It's important. It's very hard to build a defense for bluejacking other than making your device undiscoverable. If you cannot discover your device, it will be very difficult to break into. The other I want you to write down is bluesnarfing, is an attack to retrieve information from a Bluetooth device. What else do you need to know? We talked about bluesnarfing. Okay, again, please read the notes carefully. We will be used on your final exam. So read them at least once, if not two or three times. Will be very helpful. And again, please try your best to read the chapter. Okay? So it's a PDF, and I think most of PDFs will allow you to, they can read it for you. So there's voice option that you can have your browser read the text right off of the PDF if you don't like to read. So you can sit there and just listen. And it's probably a very good idea to do that. All right, so we went over 10 minutes, but that's good. So I'll see you on the next chapter.